Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 81 of the Office Hours podcast. 81. We're like in the final stretch for number 100. Huh? Is it crazy or
Right,
what?
right. I was just thinking about the same thing. Remember when we started, like the first episode?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
I was migrating my blog to a different engine over the weekend, and I was like trying to spend some time to figure out like some sort of programmatic way of like transferring all the posts
hmm
from one to the other. But in the end, I realized that it was like way more hassle than it's worth potentially. So I just like done them all by hand, and effectively I had to like copy paste all the posts from the old one to new one. So I looked at the older episodes because they're all like embedded in there.
Okay.
It was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, good thing. I'm looking forward to that number 100. That would be a really big milestone for us.
yeah. It would be for sure.
Yeah. How have
But
you
anyway,
been? We
good,
haven't
good,
talked in a
yeah.
minute.
Uh, I'm by my lonesome this entire week.
You.
My missus, she went to United States for some business,
Mm.
so I'm like staying here by myself. But it's nice. Summer's in full swing. We have like a
Mhm.
massive strawberry patch. Last year we built this little thing and grown a bunch of strawberries, I think from seeds even. And we had like one strawberry at the end of the season. So I was joking that it's like the most expensive strawberry I had in my life because it probably cost like $300-400, all things considered.
Oh boy.
But it went through winter. All the
Mhm.
plants went through winter, and now there's like a ton of strawberries, so they're gonna be ready in a couple of days, I think. So that's kind of cool.
Ooh, do you make like strawberry juice or like you
No.
prefer
I
like
mean, there's not that many. It would just be better to just eat them directly rather than doing the strawberry juice. And
did you
besides, like,
know?
I'm not too big on juices in the first place.
Fun fact, yeah. I had that I was in a trivia one time, like trivia, like
Yeah.
questions and stuff. And I learned that strawberries are actually not berry.
Yeah, strawberries are not berries.
What is this? Like, who gave them the name strawberries then? How did they get the name strawberries?
Well, I think like linguistically, they called strawberries. It's just like through the classification, they don't qualify. I think because like of how the seeds are placed on the outside. So it's just like linguistic. I mean, technically, tomato is a fruit, right? And ketchup is technically sports drink. So if you start thinking
What?
about it,
What? Sports drink.
well, yeah, because it's like ketchup is like 20% sugar and it's made with fruit, technically. So it is technically a sports drink because it's like over 20% sugar and made with fruit. And there's salt in it too.
What?
So there's like electrolytes. So it's technically a sports drink. But, it's
What?
just, yeah.
Oh my god.
And according to
Oh
some
my
guy in the
god.
States from a couple of years ago, he said that pizza is a vegetable. When he was asked like if kids in school lunches get enough vegetables, he said, well, pizza is a vegetable, so they're covered.
Okay,
So,
okay, time out, time out. Pizza's what?
well, he
What
called
now?
pizza a vegetable. So there's that. Do
Oh,
with it what you will. So technically watermelon is a berry. I think banana's a berry as well. Um, but strawberry and raspberry are not berries. Yeah.
even raspberry too?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
raspberry maybe.
Because
Yeah,
it has these like
why?
these little clusters. It's not like a singular thing. So,
Yeah, but how did they get the names though?
well, I think the names were there way before the classification according to what would be the discipline of like I don't even know what's it called. The people who study that type of stuff.
I don't
So,
know. There are people who study this type of stuff, like
well,
agricultural
obviously,
names.
it's like what is it? Well, I mean, there has to be like a study of plants in general, because like there's study of animals and whatnot. I just can't remember the
Okay.
name of it off the top of my head. Phytology,
Um,
who knows?
plant physiologist? No?
Plant
Plant
physiology,
physio-
maybe.
I don't know. I
Hard to
honestly
say.
just said something that came to mind. But anyway, it's just you mentioned strawberry now, and then I remember that trivia. I was so confident. I was like trying to say, I was so confident. Like I was like, how can you say strawberry? Because I felt like it was a trick question, you
Right.
know?
It's kind of funny because you brought that because literally 2 days ago, somebody else. There's this webcomic that I like. If you Google for the phrase "strange times for the berry club," you'll find exactly what it is. But basically, yeah, it's been known in layman's circles that strawberry is not a berry. And
Yeah,
as they say, knowledge is that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
yeah. You know what? You know what? The tomato part, I can think about. I mean, it's still kind of. I mean, listen, man. You had me at like the ketchup being a sports drink. I don't know how to live with that. And then,
It's
and
like
then,
that guy who did like the classification for sandwiches. I don't remember exactly,
hmm,
but like basically
yeah,
you
I
can
think I saw
classify
that thing.
pretty much any food as either a soup or a sandwich, and if it's a sandwich, then within it there's also classifications as well. Like it can be like a sandwich, like a calzone or a wrap or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but there's people on the internet obsessing over this kind of stuff. So if you want to go for a rabbit
Yeah,
hole, you're welcome to.
yeah. I don't know. I'm good. Before someone would tell me like pizza is a vegetable, like I don't
According to
know.
some guy from American government a couple of years ago. I don't
Imagine
know
if
if
one day
he've.
we wake up tomorrow. Imagine if we wake up tomorrow, I will start seeing broccoli on your pizza. Like, what is this behavior?
I'm pretty
Like,
sure you could see broccoli on your pizza.
I
I mean,
hope
I've
not.
seen what did I see? I seen like artichokes on pizza, I think. But
What?
yeah, I know. Do you put pineapples on pizza, Bo?
Can
What
I
do you
plead
think
the
about
fifth?
pineapples on
Can,
pizza?
can I
Do
plead
you
the
plead the
fifth?
fifth? I love pineapples on pizza. I think
You know
pineapples
what?
on ham
hmm
is really good.
hmm
Like the
You know
balance
what?
of acidity and the ham, it's delicious.
Sometimes I crave it actually. I like it, but I can't really say this outside so much because, um, yeah, there's a pizza police somewhere. I
Oh,
mean,
there
if I,
definitely is a pizza police.
but yeah, sometimes I like the. It's called Hawaiian, no, no, something
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
this, no,
Hawaiian.
like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like you could have your. It's like sugar. I like sugar, so like I can taste the sweetness of it on the pizza. It's kind of sweet, but
Yeah.
yeah, when if I go to a serious place for pizza, I would not expect to see pineapple on my pizza. So yeah.
I think that battle has been won long time ago, and pineapple on pizza is perfectly acceptable. And some, crotchety old people who can't finally accept it, they're in the minority because it's delicious.
You know what? I'm trying not, I would stay a bit like in the middle for this one because if we if we start allowing people to do what they like with pizza, I think we are opening a very, like I said, someone can wake up tomorrow now and put broccoli. I don't
So
imagine
let,
to
let
see
me tell
broccoli
you,
on the
one of the
pizza.
best pizzas that I had ever in terms of flavor is there's this place by my parents, and it's basically like a pizza place and an Indian restaurant, and they share the kitchen.
hmm
And you could order. We ordered a meat lover's pizza, but instead of tomato sauce, we asked
Oh,
for to use the butter chicken sauce. Mo, it
okay.
was the best damn thing ever. It was so good.
Yeah, I can
It
see
was
that.
so ridiculously good.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I
Butter
mean,
chicken
even
is
though
good.
like I'm not
Yeah.
eating anything like that right now, I'm like salivating at the thought of how good that pizza was.
Ooh, okay. You know what? I'll give you that. I think butter chicken is yeah, butter chicken is pretty yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with this one.
See, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with this one. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
see, like people can get creative. Some creativity gets hits the point, like they hit the mark. But some are just like questionable,
Right.
like
No,
and
that's fair. That's fair. I think that like people should be able to try different things, but then the rest of the society should be able to tell them if it's actually crap or not.
yeah, and they
That's
should be
only
willing
fair.
to accept it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
should be willing to accept it. Like don't fight,
yeah. I
fight.
think there's like a slight disbalance in there right now is that people claim that they created it and it's artistic and therefore it should just be universally accepted by everyone. And to
hmm
that I say like, no, you made a bunch of shit. I don't care about it. So like
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you break your pasta?
When I cook it, no, I
Oh,
never do that.
Okay. Okay.
You ever see that video where a girl is like trolling her Italian boyfriend and she like breaks the pizza and he's like nearly having a heart attack?
Yeah, I see that all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny.
yeah.
He's like, oh
Well,
no, darling, what are you doing?
I,
Oh,
I,
cazzo.
yeah, I wonder why they take it so seriously like that. But I'm with them too. Like, yeah, I don't think you should
I
break
think
it. I
people
think
just don't know the trick. But like if you grab a pack of
hmm
spaghetti, you like just twist them on both ends, put them in, and open your hands, and then they kind of like fan out, and then they all slide into the bowl, so they
hmm
never like get Anyway, if you make pizza, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, enough
But
about
yeah,
food.
as I mentioned, like I was gonna write a blog post on it, but like I did
Ooh, pizza?
1 month, no, not pizza, but like I did 1 month of carnivore, fairly strict. I did have a couple of cheat days here and there,
Mm, hmm
but I would say it was like four-fifths, four-fifths of it was consistent. So
You
that
know
was pretty
what?
good.
You know what? Let's talk a little bit about your carnivore journey. Like, why do you do carnivore diet? Like, what is
Mm,
it? Like, why do you do it?
I think it just, well, originally when I started the
hmm
first time, which was, what was it like? Probably before, it was like beginning of 2018, something like that. So before COVID, maybe a little bit sooner than that. I have some Excel. I didn't know what I was doing then, so I was just like writing down a bunch of stuff. I'm probably can find this Excel spreadsheet where I was like writing things down, so I can give you the exact date when I started the first time.
hmm
But basically, I just looked at my photos from our vacation and I realized that like I have a gut in the pictures, so I was not happy about that.
Oh, okay.
I looked at myself, I was like, oh man, I have a gut sticking out from under my shirt and my pictures. It's like, that's not gonna do. I never had that at all through my entire life. So that was the first. It was like, oh damn, you know. And I really liked the outcomes the first time around in terms of like a lot of different parameters. Like, well, losing a bunch of weight, which I think originally was the goal, but in the end it was like a consequence because other things like sleep improvements with focus, mental clarity, mood stability, snoring, like anxiety symptoms, like a lot of those things just kind of went away. So I was sticking with it mostly for a long time, but then I kind of I think what happened is like I achieved my goal in terms of my like weight loss. I got back to like being reasonably slim, and then I kind of relaxed. I wasn't like really hardcore about it, and slowly, you do something here,
hmm
you do something
hmm
there, and then there's some holiday, and there's like all of these delicious things that you're used to from your childhood, and then you eat, and then
hmm
eventually it all just falls apart. And so I kind of reached that point again recently where it's like, okay, I'm like starting to get really fat again because, at least back then I was going to the office. I was doing more physical activity, but now I'm like, traversing between my office and the bedroom and every once in a while someplace else. So it's like way less physical activity. So it's even easier to kind of get fat. And
But
so, I thought that like, okay, I'll do it in May.
mhm.
I think it was like end of April, like, okay, May 1st, good start date. And then I was like, oh wait, May 1st is tomorrow. Shit. I gotta get into it right now. And so I did. And now it's been a month. And yeah, I lost like 3.5 kilos. And again, my
Wow.
snoring improved quite drastically. Because, you know, uh, I always hear complaints about my snoring, but I have the thing
Mhm.
to prove because like I'm using sleep tracker on my phone,
Yeah.
which records noises throughout the night and like it detects if you're like sleep talking or sleep snoring or whatever, and you can actually see the graph just like tanking pretty much like 5 days after I started. It just basically tanks to almost zero, and I even feel it. Like I feel like my nose is more open, it's much easier to breathe. Like before, I think the nose like it would be inflamed,
Mhm.
So it'd be like I can breathe, but I feel like I'm not getting all of the air because the passages are constricted. But now I don't have that problem. Like I breathe normally without really
Yeah.
thinking about it. So um, I don't know, in terms of focus, it's probably not there yet. I think then it kind of started maybe on a month, 2.5 mark. So I decided not to revert. I'm continuing. I made like a new calendar and everything. I like
Mm.
cross off the days on it to keep it a little bit more visual. So like I took a picture of the calendar from May and I made another one for June. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. You know what? Um, do you know how the science of it, like, because I think I've I mean, I'm not new to carnivore diet as well, so like, but do you know like the science of it, like how eating meat helps you to um lose
Yeah.
weight? Like,
So okay, well there's a lot there. Like there's a lot of different theories and ideas about how these things work. And I think that there are studies being done right now which try some of these hypotheses. So if you ask me for some study to point to that says like carnivore is better, there probably isn't one. However, mechanistically, the way that I like again, I've been learning about it for many years. Not like with intense degree. So it's not like I'm going to the library reading medical journals and like collating notes and like doing analysis. It's very kind of layman, but I did watch a lot of very kind of low level talks from medical conferences, diet conferences, from like keto community, from people who are just doing carnivore, seeing some great results from people online. So it's not it's like n equals one type scientific research where you have just one subject, which is
mhm,
yourself.
mhm,
But mechanistically, there's people who talk about calories in, calories out. It's like if you're in a caloric deficit, you're gonna lose weight. That's like a prevalent idea. Like if you kind of search for advice on how to lose weight, most people are gonna say eat less and exercise. And that would be kind of like, oh, if you consume 3,000 calories and you expend 2,000 calories, you're in caloric surplus, so you're gonna gain weight. From what I understand, it doesn't necessarily work like that. And if you go into the details, it really depends on how your insulin system works. Because ultimately, insulin is a signaling mechanism that tells your cells to take up nutrients inside. So, like normally, like you have fat cells, and from what I understand, there's like a fixed amount of fat cells in your body. And when your body signals to them, okay, absorb stuff, they start getting packed full of triglycerides, and then they grow in size, and that's how the size of your fat tissue grows. But like if you turn that system off and your body tells your fat cells, okay, we need that stuff now, release it back, then they kind of like shrink like a balloon, basically. Like they grow like a balloon and they shrink like a balloon. And the problem is that because a lot of people, everyone's diet is like super carb heavy. Pretty much if you go into any grocery store, 95% of it is going to be predominantly carbs. Breads, pasta, spaghetti, cookie, candy, soft drinks, pretty much anything. If it's not like fruits have a lot of sugar. Most vegetables these days, they've been bred to also have a lot of sugar because if they're sweeter, they're more palatable. Like if you tried some early things that we enjoy today, like tomatoes, they probably weren't even remotely sweet as they are right now, but they've been like selectively bred over years and years and years to get like sweeter and redder and like more attractive. Same thing goes for fruit as well. Like most fruit originally weren't as sweet as we have right now. Like I remember when I was a kid, bananas were not particularly sweet because they had like a completely different variety compared to what they have right now. And then because it was a monocrop, some sort of fungus destroyed that entire variety entirely. So we switched to like Cavendish, or did we switch from Cavendish or to Cavendish? So basically, anyway, the point is that like fruits, vegetables, they also have a lot of sugar in it. And sugar requires insulin in your body. So if you eat a lot of sugar, you spike up your insulin, and then your insulin is the molecule that tells your cells, hey, we need to take up all of the nutrients and store them. Because I guess it makes sense. Like if you don't have the modern agricultural system, and you hunt and you eat, and then you find like something sweet. Some people said that there's a hypothesis that basically fruits are there in the summer and they're full of sugar, and they basically trigger this weight gain mechanism at the end of summer because next is going to be fall and winter. So if you like fatten yourself up at that time, you're going to have easier time going through winter because you'll have like fat storage. I don't know, again, if it's necessarily true, but I don't know. In my basic understanding, it kind of makes sense. The problem is that now we don't have season available things. We just have things year round because they're like grown in greenhouses, or they're like flown from half the way across the planet. So like you can have strawberry in the middle of winter, whereas, 100 years ago, that was just not possible unless you're like insanely rich or something like that, right? Like you'd have to fly it with an airplane on a block of ice to get it to New York from, I don't know, somewhere in South America in the winter. Like, so that was just not a thing. And because we have all these carbohydrates in our system, it constantly keeps everyone's insulin level elevated, and that causes people to gain weight. Because for the people who are proponents of calories in, calories out, there's a certain type of diabetes where you have, like, I think it's type 1, where your pancreas do not make insulin in your body. And you can eat 10,000 calories, and unless you inject yourself with insulin, you will die from starvation because your body is not going to absorb any of it. So you can literally eat 10,000 calories every day and die because the system is out of whack. So that kind of puts a big nail in this idea of calories in, calories out, because, hey, you're eating tens of thousands of calories, nothing happens. But by controlling insulin, you can actually control. So you can eat more calories, and you're just not gonna, like, they're gonna go through your system. You're not necessarily gonna retain everything that you ate. So I think that's mechanistically how it happens. And if you search for things like Randall cycle, again, there's two competing systems. Like if you feed your body with proteins and fats, you go into like the fat metabolism, or you can eat proteins and carbs, and then you use carb metabolism. But if you eat fats and carbs at the same time, they kind of compete with one another and throw this whole thing out of whack again. And that's why, and again, the food these days, like all the processed foods, it's like a combination of carbs and fats and proteins. So it's always going to make that system work in a very antagonistic way to itself. There's people who can explain that thing in way more detail than I can. So I can't necessarily as easily represent it over, but that's why. Think, yeah.
I think it's pretty good the way you explained it. I feel like it's easy to see why people might want to try this diet. Yeah. But I have a question for you. There are some questions that I have, because I noticed that everyone, when it comes to like diets, like there is no one size fits all for everyone. Every category, every humans have like a peculiar, way their digestive tract or like their body works. Like we don't have the same body chemistry, So the way it works in someone may not exactly be the same way. For example, like there are people who are born in this part of the world, like you have a certain kind of food that you eat that you call food, And
right.
Also where I'm from, like there are certain types of food that's what the people from here call food may not necessarily be what we call food, you know? And these have different res responses, like, you know, on our body. Like if I don't know, I cannot subject myself to eat some of the things that are from here, you know, like they'll be called leaves, you know, veggies or stuff like this. Like I would like something a bit more, something more than this, you know.
As Ron
But
Swanson from Parks and Recreation said, I don't eat food that my food eats.
you get it, you know. So yeah, but then again, it works really good for people from here, you know. Like this is what their body expects to be consumed as food, and if this changes, I feel like will their body have to adapt to this new, or like do you see where I'm going
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Like,
I see what you mean. I think that, again, up until very recently, you would be eating predominantly what's available geographically where you are. Like, we did not have advanced logistical systems to get you food from literally any part of the planet at
mhm,
any time.
mhm,
Like, in Vancouver, there's like so many different cuisines. I can find cuisine probably from like anywhere in the world except maybe a few places that is available and being made here. One thing that you can argue is like it's not being made from the same ingredients, it's the same recipe, but like it's being made from flour that's been grown from grains that have been grown here, not grown over there. So maybe
mhm,
there's like a little bit variety, but the point is like if I live in Belarus 200 years ago, you know, I have my cabbages and I have my potatoes, and like that's about it, right? Well, not really, but like it's very limited, and like I can't
mhm.
get sushi, I can't get like all these other things, I can't get what they eat in like Thailand, for instance. It just doesn't grow here, so like that's not a thing. But now we have this availability, like you could literally eat any cuisine you want, and I think that probably, I don't know, I wouldn't say if it's good or bad, because I think a lot of people eat for the experience. Like they want to experience the flavors.
Mhm.
So I think back in the day, food was way more utilitarian compared to now. It's like you eat to live, and these days you live to eat, you know, as some people put it. Like people want to experience all these different foods. I look at it in a way that's like, okay, I don't want to be hungry. If I get to try something really delicious every once in a while, that's kind of nice, but for me, that's not really the point. Like I'm perfectly content not doing that. But again, that's just me. And if you radically switch your diets, it definitely requires a quite long period of readjustment because,
Yeah.
you know, humans are very adaptable, so we can adapt to pretty much anything, I guess. But there's still the adaptation period. Like the first time I tried, again, because I didn't really know what I was doing, I experienced
Mhm.
like the symptoms, the keto flu, like the oxalate dumping, like all of these nasty things that can
Hold
happen
on,
to
hold
you.
on. What's a keto flu? What do you mean keto flu?
It's like flu-like symptoms when you try. Like I guess like I did not go exactly carnivore directly. I think I tried like some sort of keto thing first, but it was a fairly short phase. But if you go ultra low carb during that transition period, like
Mhm.
biochemically there's like a lot of stuff happening because like sugar makes you retain more water and things like that, so like you start losing water like crazy, and if you don't adjust your salt intake, that like messes up your electrolytes and you get like these headaches and you get like these flu symptoms. So it with these types of changes, it's always better to kind of taper off and taper in. Like if you go cold turkey, you can experience a lot of nasty symptoms, and I
Mm.
think that's one of the reasons why people having hard time sticking with these things is because by week 2 all the bad stuff hits you like a ton of bricks and you're like, screw this noise, I feel horrible, like this is totally not worth it, and then you go back to what you were eating before and it subsides because you're kind of back to your usual.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely like the adjustment period may not be pretty. You can have a lot of side effects, you can have a lot of bad symptoms, but you know, once you get on the other side of it, it's quite different in terms of perception.
Did you know? I mean, just for context, I I mean, I did this for some time as well. And one of my own observation was that I felt um like I had more energy, which I some of these things I cannot really explain it scientifically, which is weird to me. And I
Mm.
like to be able to explain things like this. Um, and like I had more energy. The sleep that I was having at the time was also like different, and I also noticed like I felt less stressed. Like before then, I used to have like some issues with like anxiety,
Yeah.
like I know, but um after that period, I noticed like I no longer felt this. But one thing I learned during this period, even though I could not really explain the science of it, is that the food that you eat also weighs so much on your mental health.
Oh,
Like,
totally.
like, like,
100%.
some of the little things, like you feel some way. It's a reaction from. It could be from like the kind of
Yeah,
diet that you have, how you
absolutely.
eat, and all. And this was one of the big lessons for me. But I cannot really explain how this is
Yeah.
connected,
I,
you
I,
know?
I think I can maybe say what I think about some of these things.
Mhm.
So in terms of like energy balance, I find that your energy is just stable. Like there's no highs and lows. It's just a stable energy
Mhm.
state. Like
Yeah.
you don't like you can feel physical exhaustion at the end of the day and then you go to sleep. But it's not like like it's very stable. And I think one of the
Mm.
reasons is again is insulin. Like when it spikes, if you eat a bunch of sweet stuff, or like the other thing that people say, it's like, oh, you can have you can have these carbs that are like complex carbs. It's different. But that's kind of that doesn't make any sense because like all carbohydrates gets broken down into glucose into like the smallest constituent, which is glucose. So it doesn't matter if you eat raw sugar or if you eat bread or if you eat pasta or if you eat buckwheat or if you eat something like fibrous. Fiber is like a whole other thing, but it all gets converted to carbohydrates. Maybe some of that stuff takes longer to convert to carbohydrates, so you don't get like a spike. You kind of get like a big wave and then
Mhm.
it subsides. But like every time you hit a big spike of insulin, after that will come the crash. And so you eat in the morning, you spike up your insulin, a couple hours later, you're like in a crash state. It's like, oh, I need a snack. You eat a snack, you spike it up again, and then you get another crash. So you kind of like on the seesaw throughout the day the entire time. It like goes up very high and then it
Mm.
drops, and then it has to recover to baseline, and then you spike it again, and then it drops, and then you have to recover it to baseline, and it just goes on and on and on. I remember that before I started doing this, when I was just eating the regular things that I've been eating my entire life, I remember being I was at work and I wanted to eat so bad. I was I'm willing to murder somebody for some food right now. Like I was just like, oh my god, I'm so hungry. I cannot think of anything
That's it.
else.
That's it. That's it. Oh, disclaimer: you didn't murder anybody, right?
Sorry, say again. My phone rang, unfortunately.
Oh,
Can you repeat?
you didn't murder anybody.
No, no, no. Obviously not. But I was very I was like feeling very not anxious, but basically it's like, oh, I need to eat something right now, or like I
Agitated.
was
Okay,
basically
yeah.
very agitated, very irritable, like
Mhm.
in a state where I remember being in those states where it's like I at first. Because, as you learn yourself throughout your life, you kind of understand these things and what to do about it,
Mhm.
right? But it's basically it's like, oh, I haven't eaten anything and I'm super irritable and I like aggro on trivialist shit. Like my girlfriend would say something to me, I'm like, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, I haven't had any food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now or since, because even though I haven't been going like super strict carnivore, I was mostly animal based. Like all my breakfast would be 100% animal based, but then for dinner I would eat something else. Like that's just not a thing anymore. I mean, it is much more difficult to piss me off right now with trivial stuff. Like it has to be something serious to kind of get me worked up,
Can
right?
I try? Can I try? Can I try? Can I try?
If you start talking about mandating certifications for engineers, maybe yes.
Yeah, well,
But that is not a trivial. That is not a trivial thing, you know.
I know. I'm just joking. But there is this. You mentioned something about like most of the food now having like carbs and stuff. But do you agree that you need carbs for like brain to
No,
actually like?
you
You
do
don't think
not.
so? When you
Well,
take
first of all,
so
yeah. In terms of, or sorry, finish your point.
yeah, I want to put it to give you a theory. Yeah. So what I remember is that I think when you do carnivore and you eat meat, I remember like from my research, like it's not just you're not just eating protein. It's not just protein. I feel like um there are also some other parts of the meat that you could get like other sources of vitamins from there. Like, but I don't know exactly like the full science of it. But it's not just you're not just eating protein. And also like your body somehow gets the part that it needs for like the rest of your body to function, like what it needs for the rest of your body to function from this source. But yeah, I was one thing I also know is that like I think the brain needs some level of carbs. I'm not a food scientist, but this is just something I read about, you know. That how how do you can you do you have you learned about how the
Yes,
body
yes, yeah.
finds the carbs
I
that it needs in its
yeah, I
food?
can tell you. So we generate all the carbohydrates, or sorry, rather, we generate all the glucose that we need. Like our body is capable of generating its own. There's a process called gluconeogenesis, and it's generating new glucose within your body. So, and the body is really good at keeping in homeostasis. Like it tries to have all of the parameters be where they should be. And like once they get out of whack, it has compensatory mechanisms to like adjust it back. So your body will produce enough glucose for its function. You don't need external carbohydrates to make that happen. Right? So you don't need them because your body is able to make enough for its needs. And anything over that, the other part that people tend to forget or not know is that glucose is it causes oxidation. You know how they always say, "Oh, this thing has antioxidants and this and that," and everyone's like, "Oh, you don't want oxidants you don't want oxidative stress in your body." Well, glucose is a very big culprit in oxidative stress, and so if you have prolonged elevated levels of glucose in your blood, that is actually like aging your body much faster. So if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates and constantly have elevated glucose levels, that's not good for you. You kind of don't want to have that. You want to have just enough that the body can deal with that amount. But if it's always elevated, it doesn't have enough time to kind of clear it all. And again, like, don't try to pin me down to some scientific thing. This is a very layman's understanding of things, but it's the best that I can offer.
First.
So yeah, like, you know, you can go and do a test right now called the HbA1c test, which basically measures the amount of glycated hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is the thing that transports oxygen in your blood cells. And when it gets in contact with glucose, it gets glycated. So glycated means it's been oxidized by glucose, like some sort of degenerative process where it basically loses its function. And HbA1c test shows your like how high your glucose was elevated over like a 30-day period. And if it's very high, it's also like a diagnosis for diabetes. Because, you know, if you constantly have elevated glucose in your system, that also means that you have to compensate for it by constantly having elevated insulin in your system. And that is what diabetes type 2 is like chronically elevated insulin in your system, right? That's why, you know, you have to take the insulin lowering drugs. Type 1 is different. Type 1 is where your body cannot produce insulin, so you have to have it injected. I think that's how 1 and 2 work. Again, I could be mistaking them together, but that's kind of the point. One is you don't make any or you don't make enough, and the other one is you make overabundance and it like messes up all these other things. So ideally, you don't want your glucose to be elevated. You want it to be like as low as possible, and your body can make everything that it needs. And once you switch to sort of, if you're fat adapted and can easily leverage fat for your energy needs, you again don't need carbohydrates for your physical activity.
I mean, not exactly for physical activity. It's for brain function. Like, I think, but I think I understand what you're trying to explain, and I think I agree. Agree with it. But the carbs that I was suggesting about, thinking about, is mostly for like brain functions, like solving complex problems, or like, you know, you need some energy for this. But
I can tell you that I've been extremely focused, like ADHD level focused, and I haven't had any carbs in my system for like weeks, and I was doing perfectly fine. I was working 8-hour day at my regular work, and then working like 4 more hours doing some other type of work for my own personal project, and it was just fine. Like I did not need to have a Coke or a Red Bull to keep me going. It was just not a thing. It was absolutely not necessary. So at least personally, anecdotally, for me, that never been a thing. And I think again, like unless you are adapted, that's the big thing, is like people like to kind of dismiss it without getting to a point where they really start getting the benefits out of it. They basically bail out too early, either because they start experiencing all these negative symptoms, or they just don't give it enough time. Because again, like if you've been, as with any self-adjusting system, you know, it's kind of like being addicted to drugs. You know, all the story is basically like, okay, you start taking drugs, but then they don't hit you as hard, so you need more drugs and more drugs and more drugs, and then you switch to stronger drugs and more of those and more of those and even stronger ones. So like there's this constant pressure for your system to adjust to kind of cope with what's happening, right? And so the same thing happens here. Like you can't just kind of cold turkey switch over and just have that. Like you need for the regulation to come back. The other thing that like high carb foods and other things do is they mess with your satiety signaling. Like there's these hormones called leptin and ghrelin that kind of work in tandem to tell when you're hungry or when you're full. And again, probably evolutionarily, for the point of gaining a lot of fat in the summer to prepare for fall and winter, there's no off switch. Like you cannot stop eating sweet foods until you like physically cannot stuff any more down your face. You know, like it's the joke, like there's a second stomach for the dessert. You can be eating all night, you can be full up to here, dessert comes, oh look, magically there's more room, even though before that you couldn't eat a single more bite. Because the signaling for sweet foods, I think it's probably deliberately turned off for being able to prepare for winter historically, but now the conditions are completely different, so these mechanisms kind of work against us. Like, I can eat half a kilo of ice cream. Like, if I go and get some, salted caramel from Ernest Ice Cream, I can eat half a kilo without blinking, and I won't stop because it's so goddamn delicious.
Wait,
but
you know what?
Can I eat like a kilo of meat? I think sometimes I would buy like half a kilo of beef and just eat it raw. And I think half a kilo is like my max. Like usually by the time I get to that point, it's like, okay, I can't eat anymore. But with meat and animal based in general, I stop way before I would stop with carbs. Like with carbs, I would not stop until I'm like up to here, like until I'm physically unable to continue, basically. So
Yeah.
it takes a long time for your body to fix the signaling and for you to understand your satiety properly, so you actually start eating reasonable portions. Because for a lot of people, like the amount of food they eat is completely out of whack too, because they don't know when to stop. Their body doesn't tell them because of all these things that I just said.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a lot about this, and I think it reminds me of how I felt because I did it for quite a long time. I think I was on this diet for like I was supposed to do it for like a month. So I remember I said I was just gonna do it for like 1 week or 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, I decided, you know what, I'll keep this lifestyle a bit. Because I like meat anyway. So I think I went for like maybe 6 months or like a long time, maybe 6 or 8 months. It was at some point I started to reduce the strictness
Yeah,
as
yeah,
it
yeah.
went by. But now I remember all the things. Like for example, when you said like energy being at a
Steady state,
steady
like a
state,
constant level. Yeah.
yeah, this reminded me like recently I feel I was just thinking about this. Like I would like to have like a steady state of energy from like, but sometimes you have to 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 complement with like coffee or like tea or something like this to like keep your alertness going. But there is this very controversial question in the carnivore community. Do you know the question I'm coming for?
Not sure, but go ahead.
um, in carnivore, do you drink coffee, or is coffee carnivore, or this is cheating?
The thing is, okay, as with anything, as with like ketchup being a sports drink, people kind of take it to the extremes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you
Let's not
could
say ketchup
argue
is a
that
sports
because
drink.
coffee is a plant and it's a plant extract, that technically does not comply with eating only animal based. But you there's like so many different things. I don't think that scientifically there's anything conclusive about that. Some people say that like coffee contains a lot of different alkaloids, and alkaloids have all sorts of various effects on your system that we don't fully understand yet. It also messes with your gut. It's like everyone knows, you wake up, you have your breakfast, you drink coffee, and then 15 minutes later you go and take a dump, because that's how it works, right? You drink coffee, 10 minutes later you go to the toilet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to have that in your system? Like, why are you making your body evacuate itself after drinking coffee? Like, is that like, are we just taking this as a side effect? And it's like, well, it gives me a bump of energy, so I'll take having to go and take a dump every time I drink coffee as a given. Is it a thing that should be happening to
Actually,
you? You know?
actually, actually, I don't think coffee. So, how do you say that? I think this does not happen. I don't know, but this is one of the good example. Like everyone's body is different. Like I I cannot relate with going to the bathroom after drinking coffee. One thing I can tell you is that I feel like I've drank so much my body has gotten used to coffee to the point
That's
like
how I think too.
I don't know if this gives me any form of like I mean, maybe depending on the type of coffee, maybe because there are also different types of different strengths. So this this is one that for me, I don't know if it actually gives the coffee benefit, like makes you stay awake and like alert. I guess there is a habit to it. When you wake
Yeah,
up in the morning,
yeah.
there is this habit that your body is expecting that stuff that you do at a certain time, that your body now knows that you're awake. So if you drink water at
But
seven
is it
o'clock
like,
every morning,
is it just like, oh, he's about to drink this toxic stuff, so let's brace ourselves. And your body kind of gets ready for it, and it's like, okay, we're done with this thing for today. Like, again,
It could be
I had
water.
the story with coffee where, before Carnivore, like a bunch of years back, 10, maybe more, at least 10 years back, I kind of had the routine where I would like take the bus or drive, go to the office, stop by McDonald's, get breakfast in the morning, like the McMuffin, whatever, sandwich with a coffee, and then, eat it, drink the coffee. 10 minutes later, go to the toilet. Like clockwork every day, right? Every working day, Monday through Friday. Because, I worked out of the office Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And I would get these migraines on weekends, especially on Sunday, like around 2 p.m. I would get this horrible migraine. And for the longest time, I kind of didn't really put two and two together. I thought like, oh, I went to sleep late on Friday because I don't have to wake up early. So my sleep is messed up and now I get a headache because I didn't sleep well enough. Same thing on Saturday. And then I realized it's odd. Like there are other days within the week when I go to bed late and I don't get these migraines. So it's only happening on Saturdays and Sundays. And then I realized it's like, oh, I don't go to the office Saturdays and Sundays. I don't drink coffee in Saturday and Sunday in the morning. And usually I would drink coffee like around 10 a.m. because my workday started at 10 a.m. So I'd come in the office with like my takeout bag and a cup, and I would drink my coffee around 10. And basically by like noon, 1, 2, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I decided to just quit coffee. Okay, no more coffee for me, see how it goes. I stopped drinking coffee, and I've been getting like headaches for like next couple of weeks. But then once I got off of it, I did not really feel like it gives me, like I had enough energy without coffee, same as I had with coffee at the end of it. I think if you don't drink any coffee and then you drink like a strong espresso, you're gonna get a jolt. But if you habitually drink like gigantic mugs of coffee every day, it's not really doing anything for you by that time because you habituated yourself to it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think this is where I might be. Maybe this is where I might be. Maybe this is why I think it doesn't do much. But then again, like I know something about like the habitual part of it. Like if your body expects you to do something at a certain time. It could be water that you drink in the morning. If you drink
no, like having an established consistent
water,
pattern and maintaining it is probably one of the best things you can do in your life. Because the funny thing about coffee too is when I went carnivore, I was like, okay, I'm drinking coffee, but I don't want to have sugar because I'm trying to like minimize my carb intake. And meat has carbs, by the way. It has glycogen, so it has carbs technically. So it's not entirely carb free. And some people argue that even having a complete like staying in keto mode all the time is also not ideal. You kind of want to be able to tap into it if you need to. But anyway, going back to coffee, when I stopped adding sugar to my coffee. And I stopped also adding like milk and cream to my coffee at some point because I have some skin issues, and I thought that maybe dairy is to do with it. So I'm still like trying to figure out what to do. Also, like even this. Anyway, let me finish my point, then I can come back to, because there's like so many things that I can talk about. Like,
go on.
It's going all sorts of places. But I realized that I don't like coffee. I just like the sweet whatever mix that I get at McDonald's for $2 with like lots of cream and lots of sugar. But if I drink coffee black, I actually don't enjoy the taste of it. Even if I get better coffee, if it's just black coffee without any cream or sugar, I don't find it that particularly good for me. I don't. Maybe if somebody I watch a lot of James Hoffman, who's this coffee guy on YouTube, right? He's great. Like he can make you like coffee even if you never drank coffee he's so passionate about it. But like it's just not really my thing. So I can survive perfectly fine without coffee, and just water is good enough.
I think that there is also like, you see, your Yeah, like there is something about like I forgot the name of that. Like there is something about like behavioral science where like it's like a sweet stuff. Like you get used to honestly if I could remember the terminology for it now.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
so it's not like you don't like coffee, or maybe you like, I think it's not
Well,
about
I
you
mean, it's
liking it or not.
bitter, it's acidic, it makes my stomach kind of hurt. Like now, if I drink black coffee on empty stomach, I like it does not feel good. That's the other big thing that kind of happened to me is the foods that I used to eat before. If I eat them now, I notice. Like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I stick with meat, as I tell you, I can eat a half a kilo of like beef, lean beef, even raw. If
Mhm.
I can eat half a kilo of raw beef and not notice the fact that I ate half a kilo of raw beef. If I eat literally like a couple of days ago, I made something for myself. I think it might have been like short ribs or something like that. And Masha made some pasta, and she made a lot, so there's like a little bit left over. So it's like maybe like I don't know 5 spoonfuls worth of pasta with like mushrooms and ground beef and tomato
Mhm.
sauce. And
Mhm.
I ate it and I felt it immediately. It was just like there is something in my stomach that I can feel. Whereas if I eat meat, I don't feel it there. I just feel like I don't want to eat anymore. I'm full, but I don't feel anything present in my body, which is kind of weird. So, and like I would eat the things that I would normally eat. I'm like, oh man, I really feel it. I should not have eaten that. Like I enjoyed the flavor for the like whatever 30 seconds that I was eating it, but now I feel this thing inside my stomach, and it
I
just
can
doesn't
relate
feel
to that.
good.
I can relate to that. I can actually relate to that. But then again, I guess I guess there is the habit part of it. There is the I what's this thing? Like you know what happens when you give dogs treats, you know? There is there is a behavioral terminology for this. Anyway,
Oh,
like they
like
start
a conditional reflex.
something around this, but you give them the treat and then they start to enjoy this particular
So
whatever they
you use the treat to reinforce certain kinds of behaviors.
exactly. So for example, when you wake up in the morning, you know that you're going to work. You're going to work and then you get some dopamine, some jolt
Mm-hmm.
of like with this like
Yay,
sweet
work!
stuff. Yeah, because you get like some sweet stuffs and like your body's used to this habit. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
if you miss this particular step of your day, something is missing. You don't feel like you have enough energy all of a sudden. But it's not exactly because of it's
yeah,
because of the habit that you have formed every
yeah.
day for this. But
But you can easily form new well, not easily. I mean, it's
allegedly easily, you
it's
know.
not particularly easy, but it's possible. Like you can unlearn behaviors and you can learn new ones, but it requires strong inner desire. Like you can't shame anybody into doing things that they don't want to do. Or maybe you can do it for like a short amount of time, but they'll hate you throughout and will fall off the wagon as soon as possible. Like I justify to myself why I want to be doing it, and I still need some sort of external reinforcement to kind of keep going with it, because it's always easy to say, I'm just gonna have some potato chips this one time. What's the big deal, right? Like now to a lesser extent, because again, I know this about myself. Like I've identified these patterns within myself. I can resist them much easier. But before, I might have even told you this story, because like when we lived at a different house
Mhm.
and I was driving home from work, it was like there's this intersection, and if I turn left, I go home, and if I go straight, there's a store, and store sells like all of these things that I like apple strudels or whatever. I used to
Of
go
course you
nuts on
want
these things. And I'm like at the intersection, and I'm basically like clenching my steering wheel, and I'm like, I gotta turn left, but I really want to go and hit that store. I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'm going home. And then I get home and it will kind of like pass me over and then I'll be fine. But it was like a visceral physical reaction. It was like, oh my God, like I have to, right? And then eventually you kind of like, I was walking through the aisle of the store yesterday because I wanted to buy something to cook my dinner. And I was going through like some aisle that sells like all these snacks, and they have the Pringles sour cream and onion chips, which I used to like. And I mean, I probably still do. And then, you know, I look at it and I'm like, I look at the can and I was like, I know that I shouldn't be buying it, but I still have the compulsion, right? And then I was like, okay, usually what I do in these instances is I read the label and I'm like, corn flour, canola oil. I'm like, canola oil? Fuck this. Okay. And then it's easy to not buy it anymore. Because like we haven't even talked about all of the seed oil stuff, but
there's something else. That's something else.
Yeah, that's like a whole other thing. There's like there's like these big like major groups around carnivore diet. We only touched upon like, you know, the meat part of it. And then there's, you know, it's like why you should want to eat meat and why you should not want to eat carbs. But there's also like why you should not want to eat plants in general. And then the third big one is like why you don't want any type of seed oils in your system, which like we haven't talked about at all this time.
You know what? Let's do it. Let's do a series. So maybe if you're up for it, I could prepare more.
I'd love to.
Questions for you next week about carnivore diet, and we can compare it to like the other types of diet. Because I know the benefits. The thing is, I did it for a long time, and when I switched, I felt like, oh yeah, I feel like I've won something. But slowly now, I feel like, now that we're talking about it, I remember I didn't used to feel like this when I was actually like on this meat stuff.
Yeah. I think you kind of forget. Eventually, at some point, you kind of forget about how good it feels. Like when I was saying that, like I need reinforcement, I usually watch some people. Like I'm lucky in that regard. Like I never had any serious health problems or things like that. But then sometimes a lot of people go into this lifestyle mostly because they have some terrible disease that they can't manage in any other way. It's like life or death for them. And I listen to these stories about, I watched this podcast recently, and this lady, she had a small child with some weird genetic mutation, and basically her intestine does not form correctly. And it just like, a lot of these babies die before they're even born because of this particular condition. And even if they are, they usually like either get destroyed through all these surgeries or throughout this medical condition, many of them like don't make it like past 3 years old, and their kid is on like plant-free GAPS, which is similar to like a carnivorous diet, and it made it all the way to 5. And I listened to this shit and it's like, oh my God, like this is crazy, but it gets results, right? Like I'm nowhere near that position, so I can let go of it and kind of start eating all the junk and gain weight and kind of get sluggish and lazy and all of those things. But it's not like if I switch away from it, it's going to have extreme consequences for my health. So I can be a little bit cavalier with it, right? There's people who literally, if they switch away from it, it's going to bring back like all the horrible things that they used to suffer prior to. And I don't think that either of us are in a position where we must do it. We choose to do it. And then it's easy to choose to do something else, right? So, but the thing is like, every time I don't do it, I notice all the negatives about it. And I was like, shit, I should be doing it really. But, you know, socially, it's more awkward. Like, again, most restaurants, hard to find, or it's very expensive. Food is more expensive. Meat is especially expensive these days. So it's a expensive kind of habit to maintain. Even though it would be interesting to kind of make a calculation, because, like, again, I could just eat half a kilo of beef and have a good day. And it's going to cost me, like, I don't know, like, what is it, $18? $14, something like that. per
Well,
meal.
well,
But
I
if
guess
you if
that.
you if you buy all the regular food and you buy all the snacks, all the chips, all the candy, all the cookies, all the soda, like all of that crap, like how much money people spend on it, all the Starbucks that they go to for a quick pick me up, like all of these things, they all add up. I don't think people realize exactly how much they spend on their food when they're not eating that way. I calculated it, and basically I can financially plan exactly how much it's going to cost me for a year. And then if I buy bulk, like I'm actually planning to get an order of like just a bunch of different frozen meats and store them in my freezer in the basement.
Yeah.
Just have a whole bunch right away at a discounted price, and then just have my entire food sourced for like half a year and not even have to think about it.
Mm. You know what? I might just join you again for the rest of the maybe
Yeah,
for the diet.
yeah,
Maybe, but it's really nice to talk about it. I feel like there are some of these things that I didn't think of for quite some time now. It's good. I think health is wealth, and the more you take care of yourself, is the more you are able to achieve. I mean,
right.
you need your body for whatever you want to do. So it's good to have conversations like this. And honestly, it wasn't planned. I did not even
Yeah, I
intend
know.
to ask.
We just started talking about strawberries, and look where we ended up.
Yeah, yeah, but it was good. So I think, yeah, I would. I have more questions for you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we don't
No,
have a lot
I'd
of
love
time right
to.
now.
I'd
So
love to go more into it because yeah, I've been sort of consuming a lot of information about it, and I had the confirmations from completely different angles, kind of pointing to the same outcomes. So I consider this to be true because I didn't just hear like one person talk about it and be like, okay, yeah, I get that. But it's been many different people from different kind of explaining these things from different sides and different angles. And I like even in my personal understanding journey, I went through like these different iterations of understanding of what I should be doing with it. So I think I've absorbed a lot of it, but I haven't made a conscious effort to kind of formulate it in a very digestible way. So whatever I've been saying right now, this is kind of like the best effort right now. I probably can, if I sit down and think about it for
mhm.
for a couple
Yeah.
of weeks, I can come up with like a better, more consistent way of talking about it. But so far, this is what it
Yeah,
is.
let's do that. Let's do that. Cause
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, hopefully we can find more things to dissolve, digest.
yeah, yeah,
How do you say that?
yeah,
Whatever. You get the point. All
yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah. I get the point.
Vasili, thank you so much. So see you
All
again
right,
next
Mo.
week.
See you next week. Thank you for letting me nerd out for like an hour and 7 minutes. It's been
Yeah.
fun. And to all of you who are listening, you should try Carnivore. Although, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to give advice. Let me phrase it in a way that like I tried it and I reaped a lot of benefits out of it. And I was not consistent for many, many years in a row like some people. It was on and off. But every time I switch to it, I get those benefits back. So it's not a fluke. Like confirmed a bunch of times these things have happened and they brought positive change to my life. So if that's good enough reason for you, learn more about it before you try it out. Because again, like you don't want to do it cold turkey like I did it. It can be quite difficult. And yeah, hopefully we'll have more question by the next time, and we'll see you in the next one. So thank you very much and have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.